Listen to me. I will never be able to afford a house.
You don't need $40 an hour. You need to stop overspending. That's why you can't buy a house. For 99% of young people, it's not overspending.
I love going to work and working full time and still not being able to afford a house.
If you're not careful, you'll end up like the aspiring homeowners we'll see today. People who did everything right, they saved for years, and they still got pushed out by skyrocketing home prices. But we're not just here to complain today. I'm gonna break down exactly what you can do to still buy a home in this market, so make sure you stay until the end. If you feel frustrated by how expensive homes have become, pay close attention to this next clip.
It is literally impossible to buy a house right now. I currently work 3 jobs. My girlfriend works 2 jobs. We have a bunch of money saved up, and I still cannot buy a house. Otherwise, we'll be completely house poor. I'm so sick of this. I'm so tired of it. We've been working so hard for so long. Both of our credit scores are 700 plus, 720 plus, and we're working our butts off. All we want to do is start our life, live our life, and we can't do it. I'm so tired of it. And now we find out that the money that we've been paying for taxes all this time is going to stuff that it shouldn't have gone to. I don't know how much more I can take, man. I don't know how much more I can take. Like, when is the American dream going to be feasible again? When is it gonna be okay to work hard to get good things in life? With both of us combined, 5 jobs, and we can't afford a house. I'm so done, man.
So I'm curious about exactly how much he has saved. Is it 20,000? Is it 50,000? And I also wonder how much homes cost in his area. To be honest, I suspect that he might not actually have enough saved to buy a home. So he should probably keep saving until they can make a large enough down payment to have a mortgage that they can actually afford. And I understand his frustration, and many of you might be feeling the same, but stick around. We're going to discuss some solutions later on in this video. So when he says taxes are going to things that they shouldn't have gone to, what do you think he means? Comment below and let me know. Many of us make more money than anyone in our family ever has, but still can't afford a home. Let's hear a perspective on this.
Yo, I'm never gonna own a house. I just accepted it. It is what it is. I'm not gonna have a home. I was back in New York talking to my pops. I said, yo, Pop, how much you pay for the house we grew up in Brooklyn? He bought the house in '96. And it's a decent house. It's not really big. It's whatever. It's like a middle class, like 2-story, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. House was $150K. Crazy, right? Now, here's the next part. I say, yo, how much you had to put down for the 150? They had a deal for like first-time homeowners in New York City in the 90s. 3% is what you had to put down. I'm like, trying to do the math. He just stopped me. He said, yo, $4,500. This man paid $4,500 for an entire home in 1996. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna own a home. Like, what? If that was happening, so my pops at 31 and me at 31, he not going band for band with me. You know what I'm saying? He can't see me, but he got a house though. And I tell you this, I'm never gonna have that. It's not gonna happen.
So what he's saying about price is a fact. 30 years ago, the median home sales price in the US was $130,000. And now it's about $418,000. For many of you, it's even higher where you live. The fact of the matter is adults 30 years ago had way more spending power than adults now. So even though many of us make a lot more, it really doesn't go as far as it used to. Personally, I think he can own a home. It's just gonna have to take thinking outside of the box. For example, if he has a trusted friend or family member who is in the same position, they can consider buying a house together, or he may ultimately just need to relocate. By the way, I'm from Brooklyn as well, so shout out to this brother. If you've ever thought the reason people can't afford homes is because they simply cannot manage their money, the next clip might make you reconsider that.
You don't need $40 an hour. You need to stop overspending. That's why you can't buy a house. For 99% of young people, it's not overspending. You were to cut out Starbucks, Netflix, all of the fun, all of the dates, and you saved $5,000 a year, and you went to work, you came home and stared at a blank wall for 3 whole years. That's 15 grand. That would just cover close closing costs on the average house. That doesn't even count for the down payment or the debt that you're trying to pay off. And the kicker here is you also need the income in order to qualify. This isn't 2019 where you could be earning $60,000 and buy and qualify for the average house. Today, you need about $120,000 to $150,000 to qualify for the average house. This is why the wages need to go up, because if you look at this realistically, do we honestly think that the rent prices are going to come down to $800? No. Are the housing prices, even with a crash, going to go down to $170? No. Is college going to become $5,000 a year? No. Is daycare going to become $200 a week? No. So the only rational thing for us to do is to raise the income for the average American so that they can even come close to affording all this.
So a lot of people overspend and live above their means. We know this, but it's not everyone. So I do agree with him that for a lot of people, cutting out small luxuries like coffee and lunch and things like that, it's not really going to change a whole lot for the majority of people, in my opinion. For many people, especially in those expensive cities, the problem is a lot bigger than that. It's a lot bigger than just some coffee. At a national level, credit card debt has reached an all-time high. And to me, that indicates that there's a spending problem for a lot of people in this country. So if you don't have a budget, I suggest at least starting to create a budget today so you can get a better handle on your money. And I agree, wages do need to increase, but if they do, here's my question. Will the cost of everything, including housing, potentially increase because people are making more money and have more money in their pockets? I'm not sure. I have some theories around it, but I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. So many people are forced to live with their parents because buying a home costs too much. Sometimes rent is too much. Do you think it's a bad thing for folks to stay at home for longer than expected? Let's find out.
So I'm driving through this nice neighborhood, right? I'm going to pick up some food. Where is that in the area? And I'm just thinking like, damn, these are some nice houses. It must be nice to own one of these nice houses. And I'm just really sitting here thinking, because I'm in the housing market and have been for a year. This is insane, bruh. You're telling me that when you bought your house, you were probably looking at the hundreds, 160, maybe 180. And now when you decide to sell your house, you can increase the value by $100,000. So now I have to pay damn near $300,000 for a home that you paid half of. How is that affordable, bro? Right now, interest rates are at 6, high of 7. Even with good credit, bro. With good credit. A mortgage payment for a $375. Let's go $375. $2,500, bro. $2,500. How can people who are single afford that? Like, this is crazy, bro. I'm 28 years old, living at my parents' house, which I am grateful for. I'm not complaining, because I've been able to save so much money. I have a career, a full-time job, and I can't afford to buy a decent house.
I respect the fact that she's been working towards her goal of home ownership for a year. I think she should definitely give herself more grace. To be single and 28 living with your parents is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It's a great opportunity to save and make as much money as you can with minimal expenses. And a lot of people wish they could have a situation like that to just reset. She did mention that she can't afford a decent house. And that makes me wonder if there's certain houses that she's overlooking that could actually be good starter homes. And this also begs another question. Do you think people should only buy homes if there are two incomes? Let me know in the comments. So if you thought that was bad, fortunately it gets worse.
Like, this is crazy, bro. I'm honestly gonna live with my parents for the rest of my life. And I'm just gonna travel and blow thousands of dollars instead of paying rent on $1,000 on rent. I'm gonna just spend thousands of dollars on traveling, because at this point, and I know there's gonna people say like, oh, why don't you just rent in a house or rent in an apartment? Even though that's like what, $1,800 a month, maybe for a good bigger apartment, $2,000 a month. Okay, cool. Yes, I can afford that. But I have dogs, and I'm not paying $2,000 a month for under $1,000 square footage and no backyard. Are you crazy? Hell no, bro. Hell no.
So I think travel is a great thing to do. I did a lot of traveling when I was living at home, but I do hope that she doesn't lose sight of her goal of buying a home, because it sounds like she's on the cusp of just giving up and doom spending. I think she's making a good decision overall, staying at home, and hopefully it's actually a good and healthy environment for her to be in, because the reality of it is it's not going to last forever. So I just hope that she just continues to save money and prepare for home ownership. I think she should consider buying a house and renting out the rooms, or getting a duplex, living in one unit, renting the other one out to help out with the mortgage, because she did mention concerns about how much the mortgage would be. So those things could help. So if you think boomers are out of touch with the reality of buying a house these days, pay very close attention to this next clip.
I am so tired of hearing what boomers have to say about what young people should be doing in the housing market today. The boomers on Twitter are all yelling about how no one buys starter homes anymore. We all want 5-bed, 5-bath houses as our first homes. And of course, everyone is telling them, like, in a lot of places, this is $500,000 now. Like, starter home prices don't exist for a lot of people, and that is true. But the point I want to make is people are not buying starter homes at starter home ages. The average age of a first-time home buyer this year is 35. Boomers were buying their starter homes in their 20s, and then they upgraded in their 30s. But the median number of years that people buying their first home today expect to live in that home is 18 years. And by definition, a starter home is one that has like 2, maybe 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. And again, we're buying these homes in our 30s. So it's not just a house we're living in for 3-4 years while we're roughing it, while we have 1 baby. And by the time we have 2 or 3 kids, we can move up to the house with 3 or 4 bedrooms. You're acting like we're all spoiled brats, that we don't want to spend $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 for a 1-bathroom home that we're going to have to raise a family in forever. And I know people across the world raise families in spaces much tinier than this, but just to act like young people are just entitled and are like too good to buy something like this is insane, when the actual reason is we're all in our 30s and we are planning to buy the only house we expect to ever be able to afford. Boomers were shopping for this at age 27, and they knew at age 31 they could go buy their 5-bedroom house.
So one point the boomer has is that the standard home is definitely larger, especially for newer homes. And I do agree with what she said about starter homes having ridiculous prices. That is definitely a reality today, especially in most expensive cities. So where I'm at in California, there are regular old houses, not renovated, that are small and just look terrible, and they want $1 million. So I definitely get what she means. And we're in a time where your first home might be your forever home, and many people spend their whole lives in one house, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I personally disagree with the line of thinking that the younger generation is entitled when it comes to buying a house. I think it's even worse. To me, it seems like it's complete hopelessness. But let me know in the comments, do you think there is a disconnect between boomers and the younger generation when it comes to buying a house? So there are many people who believe they missed out on their only opportunity to buy a home in 2020. Let's hear from them. As a reminder, make sure you stay until the end of this video, because we're going to talk about how you can win in today's real estate market.
I need you guys to be so for real with me right now, because I feel like a crazy person. I have been trying to buy a house for 4 years. In 2020, I missed the opportunity to get the low rates and low cost here where I live in Pittsburgh, because I had just moved here in 2019 back from California. This is where I grew up. And they said that I couldn't get approved for a loan, even though it looked great financially on paper, because we were closed for 3 months. So that meant I didn't work for a year. So they told me to wait, and I waited, and things changed dramatically in the amount of time they told me to wait. Interest rates went up, but the cost of housing went up, and it was just impossible. It was so hard to even find an affordable house. They were going so quickly. So I waited another year, and then my partner and I tried last year, and we got approved, but we didn't have a lot of money saved up. And so when we went to try, we had a terrible realtor who told us we couldn't get an FHA on any of the houses that we were eligible to get, which she was just a terrible realtor, but we missed out a chance on a few homes because of that. And then whenever we looked at the conventional low closing costs, it was like so much. I mean, like astronomical. Like, who right now can save up that kind of money? So we worked really hard this last year, and we got married. So now we have money saved up. We both made significantly more money last year, and we're getting ready to put ourselves back in the the realm of things, but then I got in a car accident and had to buy a new car, so that added to my debt. And I don't have a ton of student loan debt, but like, I just know it's going to hurt me, and I'm really afraid.
So I wonder how many lenders she went to and if she could have eventually found a lender who would work with her, because it sounded like they were in a solid situation for the most part. I suggest always meeting with multiple lenders to ensure you're not just basing your whole future off of one opinion. And it's unfortunate to hear that her realtor didn't seem to have her best interests at heart. It's important to thoroughly screen any agent you're considering. If the relationship isn't working out for a certain period of time, or you have doubts about their advice, you should feel empowered to move on. At the end of the day, you need someone who's going to have your back, have your best interests at heart, and figure things out with you. Now, I suspect that even though they did get approved, that they didn't really have enough saved based on what she's saying, especially given her concerns around closing costs for conventional loans. But I do have a great deal of empathy for her though, because it seems like they got a lot of bad advice on multiple occasions, and also life happened with her car accident and everything. So, you know, just a series of unfortunate events. So I do have an understanding of that. All right. So if you have any level of compassion, I need you to brace yourself for this next clip.
And we were looking at the market here, and we would have to move 30 minutes away and have to buy a car because like we can't really afford to buy a house in our area anymore. And we can't really even afford to buy a house outside the city either. And these houses are so dilapidated, and the ones we can't afford are these stupid flips with gray floors and gray walls, and everything's gray and cheap. And it's like, is it even worth it? I want to own a home because I'm ready to settle down and I want to get my future started, and it just seems really impossible, and I don't know how people are doing it. It like literally makes me feel crazy. Like I feel like an insane person and gaslit all the time when I talk to people and tell them how frustrated I am because I work so hard. All I do is work, and I still can't afford to do anything. I pay my bills, I pay my student loans, our rent goes up every year. And when I first moved to Pittsburgh in 2019, like a nice 1-bedroom apartment was like $800, which where I was moving from was really affordable. But now I'm paying more than what I was paying in Southern California to live here, and we can't downsize because a studio and 1-bedroom apartments are so expensive. So I'm lucky that I have a roof over my head, but like I did everything I was supposed to do, and now I'm 32 years old and I want to get my life like settled down a little bit. And it just feels impossible. And I keep seeing people buying houses and stuff, and I'm like, how? I don't even know if it's worth trying again. And it makes me sad because like it's been what I've been working so hard for.
My heart goes out to her and everyone who feels hopeless about buying a home, especially if you feel like you're doing everything you're supposed to do. It can get very discouraging, but I don't want you to give up. Keep saving as much money as you can and continue to work towards increasing your income. And so she mentioned that she doesn't know how people are still buying these expensive homes. Let me know in the comments, what do you think people are doing to afford homes at some of these crazy prices? Where do you think they're getting the money from? When it's time to buy a house, you have to make sure that you can actually afford it, regardless of what you're approved for. The following clip is going to show why that's extremely important. But first, I need you to hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to get better at real estate investing, you got to follow this channel.
Do you really need $150,000 to qualify for a $400,000 house? Yes and no, because there's a difference between qualifying and affording a house. If you wanted to buy a $400,000 home today, the payment out the door is going to run you about $3,500 with principal, interest, property tax, insurance, and you got to tack on utilities and a little bit of maintenance for $500. So that's $4,000 to maintain that home. So if you make $100,000 and you have zero debt, you could technically qualify for this home, but you got to run the numbers to see if you can afford it, because $100,000 gross income, you take out taxes, you take out health insurance, and you take out 401k contributions, your take-home pay is about $5,700 to $5,800 a month. So if your house payment is $4,000 a month, that is 69% of your take-home pay. This is the danger zone. This is what people call house poor, where all your money is being dumped into the house and you have no more money for anything else. So this is why you not only have to talk to a lender to see if you can qualify, have your credit score good, maybe pay down your debt, see what kind of down payment you need, but you also need to run the numbers with your family to see if you can afford this. Are you planning on having kids in the future? Are you taking trips? You really got to crunch the numbers because there's a difference between qualifying and affording.
So I agree with him that it doesn't make sense to pay 69% of your take-home pay towards a mortgage. Many people stop at what the lender approves for them, and it is a huge mistake. Many recommend that your mortgage shouldn't be more than 30% of your take-home pay. However, whatever the percentage is, you have to make sure that you can pay your other bills, that you can save for retirement, that you can invest, and just generally have some breathing room within your budget. I've honestly been a big fan of that 30% rule, but these days it's getting harder and harder. So I would say you want to look at your whole financial picture, your debts and your obligations, and you might be able to do a little more than 30%. It just all depends. Now let's talk about some things that you can do to purchase a home in today's housing market.
When will millennials and Gen Zs be able to buy a house again? Well, here's 5 scenarios in which that can happen. You're not going to like number 5, but I had to include it in the list. So number 1 is going to be increasing your income or getting a co-signer. The average home right now sits around $420,000. If you're going to put down a 3% down payment, you're going to need about $110,000 to $120,000 of income to qualify for that home. Now, number 2 is if we see a 30% market crash and the average home goes down to $300,000, then someone making around $85,000 would have a shot at that home. Number 3 is if the interest rates go down to 4%. This would bring your payment down to around $2,800 a month, and then someone making $85,000 would have a shot at qualifying. Number 4 is going to be a massive down payment. So if you're looking for a $400,000 to a $420,000 home and you put down 80 to 100 grand, someone making around 85,000 would then have a shot at buying that home. And then lastly, this is the one that's very unpopular, but I think it's going to become more popular, is relocating. There are areas in the country where you can still get homes for 250 to 300,000 that would cost you around $15,000 with a down payment and closing costs, and you'd only need around $65,000 to $85,000 in income to qualify for this home. So I would recommend in the meantime saving money, paying off your debt, and putting a plan together so that you can grab a house if one of these scenarios happens.
So let's dive into the point he made about a cosigner. If you can't qualify to buy a home on your own, I want you to ask yourself, do you have a trusted friend or family member who's in the same situation? If you do, you can consider combining your resources to buy a home together. So this could look like buying a single family home and each of you taking a room, or getting a duplex, living in one unit, renting the other out, or you could have your own private units. And if you are someone with a family, this can still apply. So you might be able to find a duplex that's large enough to accommodate each family, or maybe just one of you have a family and you have a unit for that family. You kind of get the idea. And in some cities, they even have 2 homes on one lot and they consider them a duplex. So the point I'm trying to make is you have to get a bit creative. And then as far as increasing your income, perhaps there are certifications you can get in your field to make you eligible for higher paying jobs or to make you more marketable. Maybe there's courses you can take to improve your skills, to upskill and things of that nature. Or maybe you want to go back to school for a higher paying career. And I know the job market is not great right now, but I do encourage you to explore higher paying jobs in your field, to network, and just do the best you can to level up. Now, I don't foresee any sort of 30% crash coming on a national scale, but he is correct that if there was a crash, of course, affordability would improve. There's also no sign of interest rates falling drastically. However, if they did, affordability would improve. However, the larger problem is how much home prices have gone up over the last 5 years. And I'm sure you all would agree with me on that one. So putting down a significant down payment will definitely help to lower the mortgage payment. The downside is that it'll take longer to save for it, but it's a good thing to do, especially if you're in a place that's not really cheap, where it's not practical to move because of family reasons or whatever it is. Your best bet could be getting the biggest down payment you can to control that mortgage a little bit better. So the most unpopular point of his video was in fact the last one, relocation. Now, for some of you, it's not something that's practical for a variety of reasons, like I mentioned a moment ago. But for those of you who have the flexibility either now or in the future, I encourage you to consider affordable cities. Now, of course, you want to understand the job market. If you have children, obviously the school system and what your expenses would be for everything. And really the same things you'd look for if you were moving somewhere else in your local area. The truth is that getting out of your comfort zone might be what helps you achieve your dream of home ownership. And it might be what's necessary these days. So I want you to stay encouraged. And the point of these videos is to not only share the experiences people are having, but to get you to think creatively, get you to think outside the norm, outside of the box about how you can make this thing work. All right. And if you have any other tips that you want to offer, or maybe you want to share your experience, you can comment below. I would love to hear from you. And if you're looking to get started in real estate investing, so if you're looking to buy a home locally, whether it's an investment property or a place for you to live, or maybe you want to invest out of state, there are a number of free resources in the pinned comment of this video. It costs you absolutely nothing. So I encourage you to grab some of them. It'll be a great help to you as you get started. So now you know about the home affordability crisis, I want you to learn about skyrocketing property taxes. Check out this video right here.